Hi everybody, welcome back. Jonathan here with another Twinmotion tutorial, and today we're going to be looking at a really cool new Twinmotion template that just dropped fairly recently. I saw a little post on Twitter about this and I was really interested, so I'm finally getting around to making the tutorial for you. Now if you go into your home screen and go down to templates, you'll notice that we've got this new Beach Automotive template. And basically I've already got this open in the background. It's quite a big file, it's 1.1 gig, so do be prepared to wait while you download it for a little bit. And then we can open this up and take a look. So let me take a look at this with you. You'll be blown away by the results you can get. And it isn't just for automotive, there's all sorts of things you could use this for as well. So do enjoy the tutorial, and if you are new around here, please like and subscribe. As ever, it really helps the channel. So let's get started with this new tutorial. Okay, so here we are with the new Beach tutorial opened up. Now I've done a save as because I want to do a few tweaks, and you may want to do the same if you want to modify this file. But the very first thing to note is if you go down to your media dock and click onto the media dock, what you're going to notice is some amazing preset images which you can basically jump through. Okay, and there's some really nice rendering set up here. This one actually you'll notice is path tracing when I was actually fiddling with. I'm just going to run through some of these. You'll see that I've got a few extra cars in the background, but I can actually turn those off as well. Let's just turn those off and revert back to the way you'll find it when you open your tutorial. Okay, so let's take a look at this tutorial in a bit more detail and show you the kind of things that you can do with this to add your own cars and make your own images as well. So what I would like to do to begin with is show you how you can add a bit more detail to your scene. Now if you do want to keep the original scene, just click onto the update button, and basically a great little tip here is just to duplicate the image and drag it side by side. Now you can see I've already got one here ready to go. So let me show you what I was doing here. Basically I would like to add some more sort of foreground and information just to kind of make the scene a bit more interesting. I think it looks a bit bland. So I'm going to pop out my libraries. Let's do this. You'll notice that I've already got some libraries lined up here in my Sketchfab. So if you're not sure about Sketchfab, all you need to do is go over to the Sketchfab library, and then in here you can basically search for anything. So I searched for tin cans, that was my first search. Okay, and this was the first thing that I found, and basically I brought these in. Now when I did bring them in, I will let you know that they arrived about 1,000 times too large. So do be prepared in SketchUp to basically disable some of those things and scale them back down again. But if I go down to my extra objects added and turn on this particular layer, you'll see that I added a couple of these tin cans just for a little bit of information, I guess maybe a bit distracting, but a bit more realistic, and they came in quite nicely. So if I want to, I can kind of move that little group around and sort of basically place them. They're actually individual, so if I were you, I'd actually open them up and basically go in. And you'll notice that also each can comes with two components. So maybe we'll kind of just put that over there, sort of sink it down into the sand a bit more. Let's do the same with this can. I'm not sponsored by any of these drinks manufacturers, so I'm just thought I'd highlight that for you. So all of this is just extra information that you can basically add into your scene, which gives kind of a bit more realism, I would say. You can always turn that off if you don't like it. Okay, the next thing I did was, of course, to go to my scene, and basically I popped out the media docs. Let me show you how I did that. So starting from this scene here is quite tricky if you do want to add, say, some trees. Okay, so we can go into our trees, let's turn off the favorites, let's go to trees. Let's search for a palm. Don't forget to narrow down your search so that you actually find something a little bit more appropriate. So, you know, there's this fairly standard palm here, but when I drag it in, you'll notice it's actually really hard for me to position as I want it. So a great solution for this, everybody, is just to click onto here, open up the media preview, and you'll notice this media preview is opened up. Now, I love this. I can click on the lock, I can unlock it, and now I've just got my brand new 32-inch screen over there that you can't see, but I can dock that over there and have it as large as I want to. So let's kind of make it a little bit larger just so you can kind of see the preview. The quality is either low quality here, depending on your graphics card. I can go for high quality. I've got a pretty good graphics card here, and I can lock it as well, but that's fine. Okay, so now let's add in my scene. So the good thing is now I can navigate around in my scene as normal. You see the media preview stays where it is, and basically I can kind of just drag this tree in till I get it in the right position. Okay, so I'm quite keen to bring in something in the foreground. I want to scale it down a bit here. Just keen to kind of get that in the foreground and see if I can kind of move it to somewhere that feels a bit more natural, perhaps just on this grass. Scale it down a bit more. So, you know, you get the idea. This is really, really easy to do. Yeah, I just wanted something there in that kind of foreground of the tree. I also wanted to drag something into this little bit here. It looks a bit too clean. So let's go for maybe some grasses. So I think in my favorites, I've already got some of that. So let's click my favorites and let's go to maybe some of these ground covers. Now you'll notice that at the moment I can click generate variations on some of those plants. So some of this sort of ground cover, you know, comes in lots and lots of different variations. Really, really cool. Once you generate those, it takes a few moments, but you'll be able to kind of drag any of those in. So here we go. Let's drag this one into the scene. And again, there it is positioned, not quite in the right spot. So I can get my move tool and basically bring it back and just sort of have it in the foreground there. I think I'll probably shrink it down, but look at the preview image. This preview image is what you really should be looking at. And basically you notice that I can just easily kind of prop this out with these lovely, lovely plants, just to give a little bit more interest in the foreground. And I think it just looks a bit more natural in my view. So we'll kind of copy a few more of those. And let's just snap that to the ground. And maybe one more over here as well. Okay, so those are a couple of nice little improvements. I also wanted some trees running along the back actually. So what I'm going to do there, which is kind of cool, is go up in the sky a bit more. So speed my camera up. And all along this sort of beachfront, I'm basically going to take this tree, hold shift down and drag till I kind of get it where I want it to be. And basically then I'm going to do a number of increments. So what, let's just say 9 meters, and let's do a bunch of these all the way along. So that should give me a really nice run of trees all the way along. If I do want to, I could probably rotate those ever so slightly. Looks like they're slightly off center, and let's just sort of move them back just at least onto that grass section there. You can see this makes quite a big difference. Now I kind of feel like I don't need this particular tree, so I'm just going to just find that one in my view, and that must be that new one that I added actually. I kind of feel like I don't need that anymore because I've got that lovely detail in the background, so I can delete that. So if you look where we started, let's just pop the media preview away for a moment. I'll go to my starting image. Let me turn off everything that I've added. Okay, so I'm just going to go through, and to do that I'm going to select all the extra bits here, right click, create a new container. Let's just call these trees. Okay, so I can hide everything that I've just added and update the image. Okay, and now I can go through to the new image and just show all of the new stuff. And basically this is quite nice because I can compare the two views and see which one I prefer. So I actually prefer this one. I think it's got a bit more interest going on. I can keep refining. I think these plants are a little bit too dominant. Scale those down a bit. And this one here, definitely scale that one down. So let's go for the middle section, scale that down. Maybe move it back a bit actually so it's a little bit less distracting. I think actually probably that one distracts most from the image at all that I was looking for. Okay, so I do hope you enjoy that sort of improvement of the image in my view. Now let's look at improving a bit more, and this is even before we get to path tracing. So I was liking the idea of sort of bringing in some other cars. So I've gone into my Sketchfab, I've gone into the library, the main library for Sketchfab, and basically I found some really nice cars that I'm interested in. So let me show you the process for bringing these in. So once again, I'm just going to pop out that media preview so we can keep this sort of locked. Let's click on the padlock and unlock it. I'll pop it in that position for now. And that means that I'm free to navigate around in the scene and do what I need to do as required to, you know, bring in these extra objects here and keep an eye on this. So let's bring in this really cool motorbike. So when I drag and drop it in, let's target it. You'll notice the object creates, for the very first time it takes a few seconds, but then after that, don't worry, it doesn't take that long at all. So just be aware to wait just for a few moments while it generates the object. And as I've said before, with SketchUp things, you do need to kind of watch out, with Sketchfab rather. Some of these come in the wrong scale. Now this one looks absolutely perfect. It's coming really, really nicely. And you can see I can just sort of rotate it around, position it again in the scene where I wanted to. So that adds a nice bit of detail. Now we'll do a bit more work on this bike in a second, but you can see that's added quite a nice bit of a detail to the scene. Just be aware though, when you do add these Sketchfab items, some of them will come in absolutely ridiculously large. So I'm going to try and bring in this Porsche and just see what happens. Let's bring in this rather sort of classic Porsche. That one looks like it's just come in straight away because I added it a little bit before, and it looks all right actually. So you can see that this particular one has actually got, it's sort of brought through its own sort of sand, as it were. I'm going to kind of get rid of that shadow and just basically position it a little bit in the distance. I'm just going to kind of rotate it round so we're nicely even on the ground, and just pop it into that sort of parking space just in the background in the distance there. Okay, so that's really cool. We've kind of propped this out a little bit more, made a bit of an interesting scene. I would like to search to see if there's a better view and a bit more of visual interest. Just before I do that though, I'm just going to go into the bike here and see if I can kind of do something really, really cool. So with the new materials that Twinmotion has, you basically will find that you've also got car paints. I absolutely love these. Look at how sort of flat this yellow is at the moment. If I just drag and drop, I can basically start to either replace the whole material or, you know, different elements of it. So I can kind of really kind of soup up this bike. It's going to go for a nice little red tint there. I think that looks really, really cool. In fact, I like the red everywhere. Okay, let me just close down the media preview. In fact, I won't close it. I want to keep it. I'm going to move it to my other screen for a moment, which I can see, but you can't, of course. And focus on the bike. So you see that nice pearlescence on the bike there? That looks really, really cool. Okay, brilliant. So we've got our second view here with our bike and our Porsche in the background. In fact, let's actually do some nice paint onto the Porsche. That looks a lot nicer, and let's kind of improve the quality of that by getting some chameleon effect in there. And it looks pretty shiny already, to be fair, so I think that's cool. Okay, so the image is looking good. There's one more thing that I do want to do though, so I'm going to basically do my little trick of duplicating the image, dragging it back to the start, and basically this means that I can really focus on the before, so I'll just click on update, and the after. So for the after, I'm basically going to go and turn on my extra bits of detail that I've already added. So let's go and turn those on. That was under soda cans. I think that's cool. Yeah, all right. I'm also going to go to my ambience and environment. Now to do this, it's getting a bit cluttered. So I'm going to pop out this side panel. That reduces my viewport, which is actually really quite helpful because it does reduce my frame rate. Now, at the moment I'm running in ultra settings. If you can't run in ultra, don't worry too much. Just drop down to high. As long as you're in high or ultra, you still get a really, really nice quality preview in the viewport. So that's well worth having a look at. So let's just update this image here. Click update. I'm also going to go and basically check my ambience. So what I really want to search for is if I can adjust that time of day, which I can. And I can see that that means that if I can adjust the time of day, there isn't an HDRI in the model at the moment. So if I go to HDR environment, I want to see what would happen if I enable this. So let's enable the backdrop. There is actually, but this is a backdrop rather than a sky dome. Okay, and I know that the detail of this must be that basically the rotation allows me to rotate that sky dome. That makes quite a lot of sense. Yeah, you can see we've got the different sort of backdrop here. So it actually could be quite a nice sort of interesting backdrop as well. Just something of sort of bit of a difference, just like looks like the environment curling round a bit. I like that. Let's search for the intensity. Okay, so that's definitely too bright. So let's go back to probably 1. See how that looks. Yep, that looks cool. And basically let's update this particular image. Okay, so we've got this one. That was the original one. We've got this one with this nice sort of faded backdrop in the beach, looking round. Tell you what I might do, I might just move my camera ever so slightly, very, very slowly, just kind of get round and sort of take out that plant a little bit and just sort of refocus just a tiny bit. Right, good, I'm very happy with the image now. So there's a couple more things I want to do to this image before it's done. I can see that the Porsche doesn't have good glass. That's easy to sort. I'll just go back to my materials, to glass, and I'm going to drag in a fairly reflective glass and basically drop that into the model. You can see that really helps. I also feel like I need some people in this image just to bring it to life. It looks a bit dead at the moment. So what I'm going to do is basically go to my characters, and remember that you've got the two types of people. So let's type in the word beach, see if anything comes up. Okay, well it did. Michael here, he's an animated person. I think he needs to be a bit further away from the camera. So again, let's bring back my media preview here, and let's go a bit faster on my camera. Let's kind of have this dude walking along in the background there, and maybe chatting to Sana here as well. She's kind of ignoring him at the moment, so we'll have her turning around and facing. So that just gives a nice little bit of visual interest in this gap here. And of course, let's get some other people as well. Let's go actually to characters rather. And basically what we'll do is we'll search not for animated people, but a few posed humans as well. So here we go, in summer, there should be some quite good people. Yep, we got some people on the beach. Whether we'd actually catch them, might just sort of capture there in the distance there. And let's have a couple of people walking along the deck here. He can be standing maybe just here by his bike. Just going to move him across. Yep, that's kind of cool. And let's have him also chatting to somebody. So I think we'll have him chatting to this guy here. So you'll notice that some of these need downloading. Okay, there are really lots of nice models here, but do favourite them. That's a really good tip. Otherwise you kind of can't really notice quickly which they are. So I haven't downloaded many of these, so I'm not actually sure what they're going to be like. This guy looks like he's about to play with a ball, so why not? He looks like he's having a bit of fun on the beach. So these models have now downloaded. We drag and drop them in. They take a few moments to generate, as I've said, and then we can kind of spin them round. And you know, that looks pretty natural, very sort of beach sceney. These dudes chatting by the bike, got the lovely e-tron here, and we've got our classic Porsche. And let's just have this character over there by the Porsche. So really kind of bringing our scene to life, and he is wearing a lot, so I think I would definitely get him onto the beach, just in the background. There we go, just between that Porsche here, as you can see. So you see how easy and useful it is to have this media preview to tune up your image. So one last thing that I'm going to do is basically, let's move my image preview over here, is I really want to kind of check out a scene at full sort of size and with the path tracing. So what I'm now going to do is basically duplicate one more time, duplicate, and drag that up again. Okay, so this time I'm going to make sure that we've got Lumen turned on. Okay, so I hadn't actually checked that before, to be honest. I'm assuming it was. Let me show you the difference though. So here we go with standard rendering. I mean, you know, this is where Twinmotion was before Lumen came in. You know, it looks okay, it kind of looks okay. Once you put the Lumen on, you'll see the big difference it makes. I would make sure that if I were you though, with the Lumen, you really want to kind of get the quality up to at least sort of 5 or 6. Just let it re-render. It takes a few seconds to kind of fully update. And the bounces, you probably want that up to 3 or 4, depending on how much reflective surfaces you've got. Now this will look a lot better once we get into the final preview. There we go, there's the Lumen. So let me actually do another image here, duplicate. And I really kind of want to show you the starting point. So the starting point was Lumen turned off, standard rendering. Second one was the Lumen one. Okay, and now let's do our final one. In fact, that can be our final one, which can be the path trace. So let's go for path tracing. With a single click, that's all it takes. Enable the path tracing. Remember the keyboard shortcut is R. So I can turn that on and off with R quite rapidly. Now when you are path tracing, everything takes a little bit longer. So what you will want to do is to click on here and adjust the settings. If I go to super low, it will render pretty fast, but I will have quite a lot of noise, but it still looks pretty damn good, and these reflections are looking pretty amazing. I think they look great. So I'm going to go for a medium setting and just see how that looks. You know what? I think that looks amazing. It looks really nice. Just let it refine. You'll notice that as soon as the ring finishes here, that means that it's basically completed, and then all of this noise goes away. So we've got these lovely reflections on the main focal point, which is Audi e-tron, and we've got a nice bit of sort of propping in the background as well. So I'm very, very happy with these 3 images. I'm going to render lots more for you, don't worry, but I'm going to really render these out. So let's render these 3 just so you can see the difference. So I think we've got number 17, 17 and 17, and then we've got our 4th one. That's 17. In fact, that's the original starting point. Let's render that one as well. Okay, so I'm going to go to export. I'm going to go to images, and basically I'm going to load in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all of those images. The starting point, my enhanced one, back to normal non-Lumen rendering, Lumen rendering, and then this little icon means path tracing. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so that's the ones I'm going to select. Basically, let's pop out and let's go down to my export button, and I'm going to export these off to my tutorial folder. Now, one of the real beauties of Twinmotion is just the speed. You will be totally blown away by how fast it renders. So I will, of course, show you all the full videos at the end of here, at the end of the video, and basically you'll be able to see the glorious 4K. Occasionally I render up to 8K as well, just to go a little bit higher.